Good afternoon. Oh, you all can do better than that. This is a happy occasion. Good morning. I stand corrected. That's right. We usually do this in the afternoon, so I apologize for that. But I'm so happy to see so many beautiful faces in this audience and to have the opportunity to be hosted here at Boston University as a very special place and venue in the city of Boston for the presence of Dr. Martin Luther King. We are very pleased today to have with us a Boston University representative, the Associate Provost, Dean of Students, Ken Elmore, to begin our day of service and celebration in honor of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King.
Well, good morning. It is absolutely wonderful to see the city here at Boston University. You know, let me just tell you a little bit about a college or a university experience. It is about two very important things. It's about history, of course, and today we will get a lot of that in terms of legacy, tradition, and history, but it's also about troublemakers and eccentrics. That's important. Troublemakers and eccentrics. We like those kind of people at these sort of spaces. And someone would say that now more than ever, it seems like the eccentrics are running the place. So, you know, we have had this long, steady role of eccentrics. A woman named Anna Howard Shaw, who dared to think about a world where she could be a theologian, where she could practice medicine as a woman, and also that she could fight for the ability for women to vote in this country. We had eccentrics like a woman named Lila Robinson Sartell, who did this really remarkable thing. She actually had the gall to go to law school here and then go out and say that she was going to be the first woman in the United States to practice law. We had eccentrics like a guy named Edgar Helms, who said, you know, as a school project, I'm going to create this thing that we now know as Goodwill Industries. And of course, we had the great eccentric, Martin Luther King Jr., who walked in these very spaces where we sit, moved around this building, and formulated an idea about a better world. He would actually dare to say that we are going to be able to be in a world where people will be able to be free and themselves, and that we'll be free from some of the problematic ways that we have dehumanized each other over the years. So here at a university, we love the misfits. We love the self-disciplined. We love the antisocial. We love the communitarian as well, but we also love the tight-knit, the engaged, and the spectacular. And that's what happens at these sorts of spaces. And that's why I'm going to say, Mayor Walsh, to our distinguished readers and speakers today, and to the Boston Youth Symphony, we are absolutely thrilled to host this year's day of the celebration of service and the celebration in honor of our alumnus, Boston's alumnus, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I hope that what will happen today is while you were here, that the spirit of these eccentrics, that the spirit of these troublemakers, that the spirits of these people who dared to think just a tiny bit different will just seep in with you today, be with you today, sit with us today, and make sure we all come back in here again next year. All the best. Be well.
Thank you so much, Dean Elmore. And now I'd like to introduce Mayor Marty Walsh. On behalf of our partners, the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra's intensive community program and the Mayor's Office of the City of Boston, it is my privilege to introduce the man who will welcome you to this program. On behalf of the board, staff members, and supporters of the arts and cultural organizations who come together annually to present this program in collaboration with the City of Boston, we are honored beyond measure to have the mayor join us for this celebration. He served the Commonwealth as a state representative for 16 years and the City of Boston for the last 4, and will now serve this city as its mayor for 4 more years. Mayor Walsh, you are a uniter, and we thank you for deeming Boston as a safe city for people who will be cast aside and marginalized and not taken care of and sent back home. We really appreciate your efforts. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is my considerable pleasure to introduce the 54th Mayor of the City of Boston, the Honorable Marty Walsh. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Lamerci, and thank you all for being here today. I want to, there's a few thank yous I want to get out of the way before I go into my formal remarks. So let me just stop by. I want to thank some elected officials that are with us today. We have State Representative Marjorie Decker with us. Thank you, Representative, my dear friend from Cambridge. State Representative Russell Holmes from Boston who's with us today. Thank you, Representative Holmes. I want to thank Marty Martinez, our new Chief of Health and Human Services in the City of Boston. Thank you, Marty, for your great work. He's been on the job for 6 days now, and he's doing an incredible job, so brought him back for another week. Thank you for that. We have Emily Shea, our Elderly Commissioner here in the City of Boston. Thank you, Emily. I want to thank our readers today, Chief John Barros, Chad Polk, and the Honorable Leslie Harris, who's with us today. Thank you very much, all of our great speakers. Dean, I want to thank you for your words. I love what you said in the back, what you said here, and thank you, and to Boston University, thank you for hosting us today as well. I am so psyched. I can't use a better word about the crowd today. I thought when we moved this from Faneuil Hall that we'd have some problems and not as many people showing up, and it's great to see so many people here. So thank you very much for being here. This is one of our most cherished traditions. While Faneuil Hall, as you know, is closed for repairs, this is incredible. And what's beautiful about this is that Dr. King learned here as a young man. And the institution helped shape him, as did the 12th Baptist Church, as did the South End, as did much of Boston. So it's exciting. I didn't forget about these young people to my left. You're right. I want to thank the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra, who are amazing. They are one of the best orchestra. Oh, let me rephrase that. They are the best orchestra in the country. How's that? One of the most diverse, and most of these amazing musicians attend public schools, so thank you very much. They are one of our great cultural traditions, institutions in our city, and they represent immense talent, passion, and the power for community. So I want to congratulate you, and thank you for being here, as always, every year. Dr. King spent, as I said earlier, most of his formal years here at BU on the campus and in our neighborhoods in Boston. He loved our city, and he believed in what our city could become. He said Boston has become a testing ground for the ideals of freedom. 50 years after his passing, these words are just as important today as they were 50 years ago. We're entering a new era into the city of Boston. We're taking a hard look at our past, and we learn from our past. We're committing to equity in new and profound ways. And when things seem to be moving backwards in Washington, we're showing a way forward here in Boston. Throughout our work, we're making sure that Dr. King's words continue to be a part of our conversation. That's why I'm so proud that Boston will finally have a major public memorial to Dr. King and Coretta Scott King. It will be a fitting tribute to these heroes, securing their rightful place in Boston's culture landscape. And we're having these conversations around the city of Boston now. We've had them in Roxbury. We're having them in town. We're not sure where this is going to end up, where the memorial, where this beautiful monument will end up, but we're looking, everything is on the table. And I know that the folks from 12th Baptist, and there's some here today, are saying 12th Baptist is where it belongs, and other people are saying it belongs in Boston Common. But wherever it goes, it's going to be spectacular. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Paul English, who donated $1 million, and also Reverend Liz Walker, who's helping co-chair this magnificent committee to move forward. So I want to thank them all. Before I end, I also want to give a shout out. Boston Fire Commissioner Joe Finn just came in. Thank you, Commissioner Finn, for coming in here, being with us today. Again, I want to thank all of you for joining us this year, and more importantly, I want to thank you for helping us achieve Dr. King's vision out of our communities every day, in your neighborhoods, in our schools, in the arts, in business, in politics, everywhere. Thank you for helping us build a better Boston, a testing ground for the ideals of freedom.
That's our mayor. So, thank you, Mayor Walsh, for those wonderful comments. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Lamerchi Frazier. I'm the Director of Education for the Museum of African American History. It's my pleasure to be your guide today. I wish you could see what I see standing here. You are wonderfully beautiful and spread across the room. This is an accomplishment that has only more merit for the words and the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. A day of service and celebration in honor of him is what we will be about, and I am happy to be your guide. I would like to join the mayor in the city of Boston, the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra, and the Museum of African American History in this 16th annual MLK Day concert in tribute to the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and the celebration of our talented youth who are delightfully talented and wonderful, and we cannot wait to hear their sounds. They're instrumentalists of Boston in this intensive community program as they present beautiful music and our beloved community leaders share a small sample of Dr. Martin Luther King's words with us today, true as they were 50 years ago. And these words for attaining social justice and an active peace are well with us. Dr. Reverend Howard Thurman led the 1936 Negro delegation to India to speak and meet with Gandhi, with his wife, Sue Bailey Thurman, who is the founder of the Museum of African American History. And as Dr. Howard Thurman was here, and there is a chapel here which he shepherded and then met with who became the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. It feels good to be here today, here in BU, where in 1951, Dr. King studied and was mentored by the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, and in Boston, where he met his wife, Coretta Scott King. Today's program is dedicated to him and the many named and unknown men, women, and children around the world who have worked for and who have dedicated their lives to secure human rights. Today, we celebrate Dr. King with music that unites us, expresses our joy, heals us, heals our wounds, and inspires us to overcome anything that keeps us from achieving our dreams. Today's musical selections are played by the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra's intensive community program and led by their venerable conductor, Marta Zorad. I have to announce that the order of the program will be slightly altered. Unfortunately, Ms. Beverly Morgan Welch regrets that she will not be with us today. The readings are from Dr. King's speeches and writings, and our first reader who will be with us is John Barros, Chief of Economic Development for the City of Boston, and the final selection will be offered by the Honorable Judge Leslie Harris. I encourage you to read their full biographies in your programs and to aim high. Now we will present the orchestra with Carmina Burana o Fortuna by Orff. Thank you. That was wonderful. Today, we will honor MLK and the shoulders of Frederick Douglass and others like him that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King heralded. Please allow us to raise the point that these two amazing African-American leaders in American history have successfully pressed the grievances and demands of Blacks and others on the American nation. Douglass with abolition from slavery, and King with civil rights. Both use a similar strategy with which to prick the conscience of white Americans for their tolerance of slavery and racial caste in America. Employing their Jeremiah rhetoric style, named after the biblical Jeremiah, to lament the ills of society, to create a national moral consensus for political reform, the moral appeals of these two great leaders aroused a crisis of consciousness and spurred the people to take corrective action. We remember this Baptist preacher, the son of a Baptist preacher, grandson and great-grandson of a Baptist preacher. He said, in order to look at the future, it is often necessary to get a clear picture of the past in order to know where we are going. Our next reader, John Barros, was appointed by Mayor Walsh to his office in 2014. He is a graduate of Dartmouth College, a master's candidate in public policy at Tufts University, a recipient of an honorary doctorate from Suffolk University, and he served formerly as the executive director of the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative for 13 years. He's a member of the Boston School Committee, a fellow of the South African United States Center for Leadership and Public Values, and a fellow with the Barr Foundation. As our first reader, he will offer excerpts from a speech given by Dr. King entitled, "The Ethical Demands of Integration, the Worth of Persons," that he delivered in Nashville, Tennessee, December 1962. Ladies and gentlemen, our Chief of Economic Development of the City of Boston, John Barros.
Good morning. There must be recognition of the sacredness of human personality. Deeply rooted in our political and religious heritage is the conviction that every man is an heir to the legacy of dignity and worth. This innate worth, referred to in the phrase "in the image of God," is universally shared in equal portion by all men. There is no graded scale of essential worth. There is no divine right of one race which differs from the divine right of another race. Every human being has etched in his personality the indelible stamp of the Creator. The idea of dignity and worth of human personality is expressed eloquently and unequivocally in the Declaration of Independence. All men, it says, are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Never has a social-political document proclaimed more profoundly and eloquently the sacredness of human personality. Frederick Douglass stated the same truth in his lecture on the Constitution of the United States. He says, its language is we the people. Not we the white people, not we the citizens, not we the privileged class, not we the high, not we the low, but we the people. We the human inhabitants. And if Negroes are people, they are included in the benefits of the Constitution of America. Thank you.
We have another music selection from our wonderful intensive community program, the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra, Britain, Simple Symphony. Absolutely incredible. She's my conductor also. I'm profoundly delighted that we got to hear more of the sweet music of these incredible musicians who have come from ages 6 years old, many of them to rise into a professional orchestra with their teachers and people and parents who care about them. So thank you so much for that wonderful selection, the selections that you just gave us. Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you so much. And their director, their executive director is Kathy Weiskull, and she's here in the audience with us. Kathy. Okay. Thank you. I have the honor of bringing up one of the students who plays in the orchestra and is an alumni of the BYSOICP. He is one of these student musicians that reminds us of Dr. King's dreams and hopes, especially for the children. Our next reader has played with the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra since the age of 6, a veteran of the intensive community program, playing in this concert each year. His primary instrument is the cello. Chad Polk is the recipient of the Philip J. Smith Award, the Reginald Davis Music Award, James Dingus Jr. Award, is a member of the Magnus Quartet of Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra, and ventures into the genres of rock, jazz, pop, and rhythm and blues. Now, an active freshman studying at the Cleveland School of Music, he has returned as a leader, presenting excerpts from The Time for Freedom Has Come by Dr. King, written in the New York Times, September 1961. I give you Chad Polk. Come on up.
The Negro youth struggle is complex. There is no place in it for the frivolous or rowdy. Knowledge and discipline are as indispensable as courage and self-sacrifice. Inevitably, there will emerge a mature man, experienced in life's lessons, socially aware, unafraid of experimentation, and most of all, imbued with the spirit of service and dedication to a great ideal, with a double education, academic learning from books and classes, and life's lessons from responsible participation in social action. Indeed, the answer to the quest for a more mature, educated American to compete successfully with the young people of other lands may be present in this new movement. The students appear to have perceived what an older generation overlooked in the role of law. The law tends to declare rights. It does not deliver them. They have offered their energies, their bodies to effect this result. They see themselves at the birth of a new order. The students have related themselves to the idea whose time has come. Indeed, these students are not struggling for themselves alone. They are seeking to save the soul of America. They are taking our whole nation back to those great wells of democracy dug deep by the founding fathers in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. In an effort to understand the students and to help them understand themselves, I asked one student I know to find a quotation expressing his feelings of our struggle. He was an inarticulate young man, athletically expert, and far more poetic with a basketball than with words, but few would have found the quotation he typed on a card and left on my desk early one morning. I sought my soul, but my soul I could not see. I sought my God, but he eluded me. I sought my brother, and I found all three. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. That was wonderful. And now, a selection by Bach, Brandenburg Concerto No. 3, the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra. Thank you. speaking on the three evils of society, Dr. King addressed the National Conference on New Politics on August 31st, 1967. Here to read excerpts from those remarks is the former Associate Justice of the Suffolk Juvenile Court, the Honorable Leslie Harris.
Good morning. Racism can well be that corrosive evil that will bring down the curtain on Western civilization. Arnold Toynbee has said that some 26 civilizations have risen upon the face of the earth. The decline and fall of these civilizations was not caused by external invasion, but by internal decay. They failed to respond creatively to the challenges impinging upon them. If America does not respond creatively to the challenges to banish racism, some future historian will have to say that a great civilization died because it lacked the soul and commitment to make justice a reality for all men. Another aspect of our afflicted society is extreme materialism. An Asian writer has portrayed our dilemma in candid terms. He says, "You call your 1,000 material devices labor-saving machinery, yet you are forever busy. With the multiplying of your machinery, you grow increasingly fatigued, anxious, nervous, dissatisfied. Whatever you have, you want more. Whenever you go, you want to go somewhere else. Your devices are neither time-saving nor soul-serving machinery." This tells us something about our civilization. We cannot escape the indictment. Our moral lag must be redeemed. When we foolishly maximize the minimum and minimize the maximum, we sign the warrant for our own day of doom. If this moral lag is our thing-orientated society that binds us to the human reality around us and encourages us in the greed and exploitation which creates the sector of poverty. Again, we have deluded ourselves into believing the myth that capitalism grew and prospered out of the Protestant ethic of work and of hard work and sacrifice. The fact is that capitalism was built on the exploitation and suffering of black slaves and continues to thrive on exploitation of the poor, both black and white, both here and abroad. The way to end poverty is to end the exploitation of the poor, ensure them a fair share of the government services. The time has come for America to face the inevitable choice between materialism and humanism. We must devote at least as much to our children's education and the health of the poor as we do to the care of our automobiles and the building of beautiful, impressive hotels. We must also realize that the problems of racial injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved without a radical redistribution of political and economic power. Black people must develop programs that will aid in the transfer of power and wealth into the hands of residents, so that they may in reality control their own destinies. This is the meaning of new politics. There are those who have criticized me and many of you for taking a stand. The issues of civil rights cannot be separated from the issues of peace. I want to say to you tonight that I intend to keep these issues mixed because they are mixed. Somewhere we must see justice is indivisible. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I have fought too long and too hard against the segregated public accommodations to end up at this point in my life segregating my moral concerns. So let us stand, knowing that on some position, cowardice asks the questions, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it political? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? Our position, it is necessary for moral individuals to take a stand that is neither safe, nor political, nor popular. We must do it because it is right. And we say to our nation tonight, we say to our government, we even say to our FBI, we will not be harassed. We will not make a butchery of our conscience. We will not be intimidated, and we will be heard. Thank you.
Dr. King said, in a sense, songs are the soul of a movement. To present 3 traditional spirituals, Go Down Moses, Follow the Drinking Gourd, and Jericho, conducted by the great Martha Zurad, the ICP Low String Ensemble, and the ICP Orchestra. next speaker, who has graciously accepted to speak with us today on his notions and the impact of Dr. Martin Luther King, resides in Roxbury, is a Chicago native. He's recently retired as the Associate Justice of the Suffolk Juvenile Court, serving Massachusetts as a justice since being appointed in 1994. He has served as a director of Medco. He was a teacher, a social worker, a probation officer for Suffolk County, chief of the Juvenile Division of the District Attorney's Office. He has served on many community agency boards, including the Museum of African American Histories, for many years. He is a recipient of numerous awards and honors, including the Boston University Distinguished Alumni Award, the Boston College Law School Lifetime Achievement Award, Hero Amongst Us Award, and the Restorative Justice Award from the Justice Policy Coalition. He humbly is coming before us to provide some reflections for us on the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I proudly present the Honorable Leslie Harris.
It is an honor, and it's kind of scary to be up here. I don't write speeches, so when Lamerchi called and asked me if I would stand in for Beverly, I said, but I don't have a written speech. But then my excuse was gone because she knows I don't write speeches. So I come to talk to you about my life, my experience, and the impact Dr. King has had upon me. You see, I'm a child of the 60s. I became a young adult, went to college, got my moral compass during that time. I had the honor of meeting Dr. King on 2 occasions, once when he spoke at Soldiers Field in Chicago, and once when we went on a march to South Deering, Illinois. That's one of those steel towns. And this was in the early, I was still in high school, I was about 14 or 15 years old. And it was the most frightening thing I've ever done in my life. This man did this on so many occasions. I did it one time, and I still feel the impact of going on that march. I watched the nun who was walking just ahead of me get hit with a rock. In my heart, I knew that rock was thrown at me. But I watched her as they bandaged her and tried to get her to leave, and she said no. I started this march, and I'm going to finish it. I said, what kind of courage? What kind of person can do that? So I didn't run. I stayed with the march, although it was a challenge because I was scared. I was a young teenager and being called names I'd never heard, being threatened and being frightened. But it was also part of what directed me in life. You see, I know that I'm a beneficiary of Dr. King's work. I know that he and others like him sacrificed so that I could have an opportunity in life. You see, I grew up in the projects in Chicago. I grew up in Ida B. Wells and Darrell Home projects. I went to the historic Wendell Phillips High School, which was not one of your high-rated high schools. But I graduated high school in 1966, when colleges came looking for black students. My older brother graduated in 64. He became Marine Recon. I graduated in 66. I get recruited by colleges that no one from my school had gone to. I went to Northwestern. I got excited about that, and I was talking to one of my uncles, Uncle L. I said, Uncle L, I'm going to Northwestern. He said, oh, that's great. I went to Northwestern. I said, whoa, wait a moment. You went to Northwestern? He said, yes. I said, Uncle, if you went to Northwestern, why are you a janitor? He said, well, son, you have to think about when it was. I went to Northwestern in the early 40s. I couldn't live on campus. I commuted. I believe he said he got both his bachelor's and master's degree, but I didn't know what that was. You see, I was going to get a diploma because nobody ever told me about a bachelor's or master's degree. But he said he graduated with a degree in electrical engineering, but there were no jobs for a black man with a degree in electrical engineering, so he took the best job that he could get. And I know what that means because I didn't have to do that. I got opportunities that people who were smarter, some even better looking, didn't get. But I also know that people sacrificed, gave up their lives so that I could do that. Who would have thought that a kid from the projects of Chicago could be a judge in Boston? I didn't believe it. I never thought that could happen. But other people believed it. Other people saw in me what I didn't see in myself. Martin Luther King sacrificed so that I could have an opportunity. And I have never forgotten that, and I know that I owe a debt. I owe a debt to those many people who I don't even know of, who went out, sacrificed, paved a way. Some of those people are probably sitting here. You see, I met, what's her name from Florida? Mimi Jones. I had known Mimi. I never knew she was a hero, a real hero, who went into a pool in St. Augustine, Florida, where they poured acid in the pool because she went in the pool. The next day, President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Bill. He was so outraged. I've known her, but didn't know what a hero she was and what challenge and what danger she walked into so that I could have an opportunity in life. So I know that it's a blessing that I lived a blessed life. I get to go to Northwestern. I went here at BU. I went to Boston College. There were so many people that I knew that I grew up with who were better students, smarter, and who are not with us today, because they didn't get that opportunity. So when we talk about the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, I know that's me. But I also know, when I look over here, Mr. Polk. See, I know his father sitting back there, you know, who was a public defender with me here in Boston. I am so proud that our children are doing things that some of us never dreamed of. You are magnificent. But I also, know that it's time for people like me to give young people a chance to take the lead. See, I remember when Barack Obama was running for president, and I had discussions with my two sons. I said, he can't get elected. People will say one thing, go in that booth and do something totally different. My boy said, no, Dad, he's going to get elected. He's going to get elected. I said, nah, son, don't be building your hopes up. It can't happen. Well, that was my life experience that made me say that. Their life experience was different. They had hopes that I didn't have. And that's why I am hopeful for our future, because these young people have hopes that I never dreamed of, that never crossed my mind. They've gone places. One of my sons went to India, another one Mexico, and lived in Europe for a year. I thought going downtown was a big deal. You know, there's a difference. Our children are walking different paths. We do have hope, regardless of 45. You know, I won't say his name. But regardless of people like that, I look out and I see our future. And I know that Dr. Martin Luther King didn't die in vain, that we do have a chance, that we are doing things different. I'm part of a group called Becoming a Man in the Boston Public Schools, where we're trying to mentor young black men, to let them know that they have a future, that they don't have to give up, that they can stand, and they're doing a sister part of that too. And I am so proud of the young men and women who stood up and said Black Lives Matter, who have walked out. See, I remember standing and singing some of those songs that you just played, and We Shall Overcome, and the feeling that I got that I was a part of something bigger than me. Well, I now look at my children and grandchildren and see that same spirit. So I am hopeful. I am thankful for Dr. King, and not just Dr. King, but all those unnamed people, those heroes and sheroes who walked with them, who faced all types of dangers, who sometimes died, both black and white. So I'm hopeful. You know, it's difficult at times, but I know our children are going to do something different. And I thank you for letting me speak these few minutes. They said I couldn't take 2 hours like I like to. I'm a lawyer, you know. So I keep it short. I am grateful, grateful, grateful for you young people and the talent that you bring in here, because it's not just music. See, I know that it's more than just music that you're bringing to us. You're bringing to us an example of our future. So thank you.
Being a part of something bigger than ourselves. Thank you, Judge Harris. Thank you. We now have a sing-along part of the program, and I'm going to ask you to raise your wonderful best voices so that we may join together in singing. And the words are in your program, I believe. Lift every voice and sing Amazing Grace and This Little Light of Mine. Okay. I'm going to stand back. Okay. Please tell me your name.
Pierre Gardy Fontaine. Right here.
We will be led. Oh, sorry. We will be led by Pierre Gardy Fontaine, the lyric tenor. Thank you.
Dr. King loved God. He found his worth in God. We too find our worth in God. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand up and let us have church?
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Before we sing We Shall Overcome, which we'll close out our day here with, I want to begin thanking Boston University for hosting this wonderful event. Mayor Walsh, special thanks to you and your staff, without whom this program could not have been possible. We offer to each of our inspiring leaders and readers our abundant gratitude. John Barros, Chad Polk, Judge Harris, our greatest thanks to you. And to the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra, Martha Zurad, and of course, Kathy Weiskell, Executive Director, and the teachers and students of the BYSO Intensive Community Program. And we will not forget their faithful parents who make it possible. Yes, let's give them a round of applause. We are very grateful to you. This day of service and celebration is itself an historic occasion. When you go home this evening, take your program and place it in a safe place. This is what Beverly would say if she was here. Amongst your most prized possessions, and record your thoughts in a journal, snail mail, text message, or an email. Post to Facebook, get LinkedIn, Instagram, Face Chat, Pinterest, tweet, 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 to your heart's content. Whatever this means, let the people in your life, especially the children, as Judge Harris has let us know, that he holds them up high as our future, and we all should. They need to know what went on here today. We celebrated the life of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a national treasure and champion of freedom. Let future generations know that this is our history, the challenge and the triumph of American history. If you have not attended a concert by the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestras this season, please do so. You will continue to be amazed. If you are not a member of the Museum of African American History, please join us today and empower us all in the city of Boston as citizens. And now, please join hands in this audience, recognizing each other to sing together, "We Shall Overcome."
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Sing, we are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, do you believe? I
wonderful audience, and enjoy the rest of this celebration today as you go to your homes. Thank you.